It's really, hey, what do you enjoy doing? Like
Mhm,
what gives you that fire within your own insurance company? And let's keep you in that seat for longer.
mhm.
Because me, I love client facing activities, but I do have to sit in meetings about data. And like my energy level goes from here to here like a F-350, like it's gas guzzler when I got to go talk about data. But I have to do it. It's part of my role and I have to sit in those meetings. But I derive energy being client facing. So like the same hypothetical that I continue to pose is a hypothetical for myself too. What if there was a world where I didn't have to sit in data meetings and I could only be client facing? And so it's really understanding what does the agency principal enjoy doing and how can we keep him in that seat longer? Because
Mhm.
that's what's going to drive revenue, which is the win-win for both parties.
Thanks so much for joining me, Terry Swift. I'm really excited to hear more about your business today. Can you just start by sharing more about your role in the company and how it fits in the larger picture at Equity Expansion?
Yeah, so I am a co-founder here at Equity Expansion. I'm a 50% owner, and we also have another 50%er who's more of a silent partner. And I am currently the CEO of the company. And so my roles and responsibilities are vast. But I manage a team of directors. I have a director of operations, I have a director of finance, and I have a director of partnerships. And so that's the team that I sit on and the team that I lead. And then they have teams that they lead as well. So that's kind of how our org chart um, goes. But really, my job still today is very client facing. I'm transitioning a little bit, not so much on the front end on the client facing, but certainly in the line of work that we do. These are very long exploratory um, acquisitions. And so they take weeks, months, and sometimes years. And so my job is really client facing and walking these potential sellers through what we call kind of a nine-inning baseball game and really being present in each inning and walking them through what each of those steps look like for them ultimately by the end to make the best decision for them.
Awesome. Thank you for laying that out. I have a really clear picture in my mind, even better now after
Yeah.
you described that. And I have to bring this up because this came up on our short little call a few days ago that you started your career as a middle school principal. And that's really quite a transition you've made. So I'm curious if there are any skills, and this might be a maybe you never thought of it this way, but any skills you bring from being a principal that might surprisingly translate into M&A and deal making.
Yeah. And prior to that, I was a teacher for 7.5 years in every role, a teacher and leading a school. To answer the question, yes, I think there's a lot of skills because an administrator, you're very client facing as well, and you're working through complex issues, not only with students, but with teachers as well. And so it's figuring out how we can continually solve small problems so they don't become bigger problems. And so, from a client facing perspective, like very similar, I also led a team of directors in that world as well. It was just a director of academics, a director of culture. So we also a director of operations. So it was the same org chart, very similar. But I would say that the real skills are the systems and processes. And the school that we worked at was hyper vigilant to systems and processes. I've actually stole a lot of those from education, my time in education to my time now here in business. But from a systems and processes standpoint, it looks very similar, specifically like email and calendaring and our CRM system. And how do you keep all of that super organized so that no client is potentially falling through the cracks? To tie it back, no student is falling through the cracks. So there are a lot of
Mhm.
similarities from
Yeah.
what now we call a client facing, but from either a student or a child facing as well.
Wow. Yeah, I see that now that you describe it that way. And I was just curious to ask that question because it's such a unique transition. And so 5 years ago, you mentioned that you started this company with your partner. What gap did you guys see in the market that others weren't addressing?
It was a what next? As an insurance owner, what we have learned is they have a couple of different options, and every option's just fine. But how
Mhm.
do you really, the gap is how do you capitalize off of what you've built? And I
Mhm.
think that's the gap. And so right now, they're either going to turn whatever age that they want to retire, and they're going to sell this thing. But when you sell it and you're going to be leaving, you're not going to get the best price for it because you've spent all of this time building it from the ground up. And now when you sell it and leave, somebody will buy it from you, but it's going to be 70, 75 cents on the dollar. And that's one option. Another option is like they pass it down to their kid, and their kid takes over the company, and maybe they get some sort of a salary for the rest of their life based on what the kid is going to take it, and that's also okay. But what
Mhm.
if there was an opportunity where you could create real wealth, not just a sell of your agency and get rich, but a real wealth opportunity for not only yourself, but for your kids as well? And so how do you create the win-win? And I believe the gap that we saw is educating folks on an incredible opportunity that can really benefit them financially and operationally.
Yeah. I definitely see that from just doing a little background research on your company in my spare time. I really enjoyed reading your article, one from local to multi state, a partnership success story in the insurance industry. In this story, the agency owner had already built a 4.8 million book of business and was stretched thin operationally. So, what point do you feel that this grit and independence actually starts to become a growth ceiling for agency owners?
Yeah, it's a great question. The way I articulate that is this: there are breakpoints probably in every business, right? But in the insurance specifically, we have found a lot of trends on breakpoints. And so a breakpoint happens at a $500,000 mark of commission revenue. It happens again at a million. It happens again at 2 million, 5 million, and 10 million. And what I mean when I say breakpoint is there's a moment that happens where demand has overtaken the infrastructure that you've currently built. It's a good problem to have. Everybody wants demand, but if you don't have the infrastructure to support the demand, systems and processes will crumble. And so what typically happens with agency principals is they think, okay, I just need to work harder. I need to work more hours. I need to come in on Saturday. I got to come in on Sunday because I have to fulfill the demand that's happening. But is it sustainable, and for how long? And if they are incredibly have a lot of grit, then yes, it might be sustainable. Then the question becomes, though, at what cost? At what cost to your
Mhm.
staff? At what cost to yourself? At what cost to your family? You're starting to miss your kids' events because you
Mhm.
have to be at work on Saturday. Or is there another option? And so for us, in a partnership or emerging model, the first thing is, hey, let's really understand what is getting bottlenecked in your existing agency, and let's take some of that off of your plate. Most of these agency principals got in this business because they're great salespeople. They're great at client facing activities. But when you need to start dealing with an AMS system, when you need to start doing accounting, when you need to start doing payroll, when you need to start reconciling accounts with carriers or paying agency bill statements or quoting, you're doing a heck of a lot of other things over here that's super necessary and to keep the business running, but is it generating revenue? And so you're getting further and further pulled away from generating revenue. And so a really value to these agency principles is, hey, let's take things off of your plate so you're not missing your kid's baseball game or your daughter's recital or whatever it is. Let's give your time back to you. Let's get you back in front of clients. And then let's really take off a lot of this back office at a super high level that can function without you having to spend so much time and energy on this side.
Yeah. No, that's huge. And it really, I'm sure it speaks to a lot of business owners, not just benefits brokers, right? Where you're talking about these growth stages. And yeah, there's that question, there's that opportunity, there's that option available, right? At each stage that you mentioned, you said 500, a million, 2 million, right? So for you and your company, Equity Expansion, what is your ideal client? What stage are they typically in?
Yeah. Ideal client has gas left in the tank. They want
Mhm,
to continue working. They want to keep growing and scaling. They have a history, at least a 3 year history of growth year over year.
mhm,
And they're looking for operational support. And they're also looking to benefit economically better than they could continue growing on their own. And the
mhm.
third is they're looking culturally for a partner that could meet their blue skies. And so when we come in, we really understand what is the client's blue skies? Like, what is their picture perfect scenario from an operational perspective, meaning what would be great for you if you could take this off of your plate. From a financial standpoint, it's like understanding where you are and where do you want to be financially for you, your staff, and your family. What does that economically need to look like? And then the
Mhm.
third is the culture bucket, which I think is super important because pretty easily we can give them operational relief and we can give them the financial numbers that they're looking for. And so for us, the real question is like, where's the differentiator? And the differentiator is finding the right partner who can fulfill all three of those buckets. The partner's got to really align with them from a morals and values standpoint. How did they grow their agency? Where is their agency now and where are they going? And does our
Yeah.
potential seller agree with that? And do they want to hop on that train from a culture standpoint? Because
Yeah.
if they do, then we really need to understand operationally what exactly they can take off their plate so that they could focus more on revenue generating activities. And then the
Right.
third thing, let's walk through how this economically works for you today, tomorrow, 3 to 5 years down the line, and then this equity piece at the end that could
Mhm.
really create a lot of wealth for them.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful. And do you feel like there's more mergers and acquisitions happening in this space right now, or has this changed at all in the last 5 to 10 years?
What we have learned is the reason all of this is happening in this space from an economical standpoint is because private equity is in this space. Now, not
Mhm.
to nerd out too much about private equity, but private equity, they're the bank, they're the money. They're a fund of money that a lot of people have put together with the
Mhm.
general idea that they want to 3x that money. Now, private equity is backing larger insurance agencies. They're providing, we'll call it 85% of buying somebody's agency. And their investment is we're going to buy these agencies 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30 a year with the
Mhm.
idea that we're going to 3x our money every 3 to 5 years. Now, from an equity standpoint, everybody holds the same privately held equity, right? So let's just, everybody will call everybody's equity $1. And the idea economically in these financial packages, if you're going to decide to partner, you get an equity stake in this. And your equity is $1, and so is everybody else's. There's no preferred stock. It's all a same commonly held stock. And the
Mhm.
idea is if we could partner with the right people who are growing organically, plus
Mhm.
inorganically partnering with people, which is elevating the revenue of the insurance agency, then that two-headed monster is going to turn $1 into $3 every 3 to 5 years. And so
Mhm.
really there's nowhere in the marketplace that you can triple your money every 3 to 5 years. Every 3 to 5 years, if you decide to partner, they're going to have a liquidation event or they're going to have a recapitalization event. And at that moment, they're going to go to all the shareholders and they're going to say, hey, you turned $1 into $3. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to pull the dollar out? Do you want to pull $2 out? Do you want to pull $2.50 out? Or do you want to keep all of the money in because you just tripled your money and that was wonderful? Do you want to take it for another ride? The great thing about a recap event is everybody's at $3 now. But then the private equity typically sells and a new private equity comes in. It's like refinancing a house. You don't even really know it happens, but there's a new private equity sponsor that comes in. At that
Mhm.
moment, the stock goes back to $1, but you're sitting at $3 now. You're not at $1 anymore, assuming you wanted to roll it all forward. So when they take it another 3 to 5 years,
Mhm.
$1 goes back to $3, but now your $3 goes to $9. And I know
Mhm.
this kind of gets a little bit into the weeds, but the high level general idea is within a merge and a partnership, the opportunity from an equity standpoint is turning $1 into $9 in the next 7 to 10 years. Now, that's the opportunity that exists in a partnership that does not exist organically growing your agency on your own. All you can do is whatever you're doing on your own balance sheets or your own P&Ls. It's whatever growth you can do. But what if there
Yeah.
was a world that you got to capitalize on your own growth and play for this equity opportunity that really generates wealth? Because there's a difference between rich and wealth. And that's the opportunity to partnership economically of why it's so advantageous to these agency principles and frankly, why so much activity is happening in this space.
Yeah. It sounds like a no-brainer, right? To a small company that is at a certain growth stage. Are there risks involved? I'm sure that's like the question that comes up, right, when you're
Yeah,
looking at people.
I would say the risk is this from an agency owner's perspective. They know when they started this agency what it looked like. They know what year one looked like. They know what year two looked like. They know what the growth looked like. They know what the staff looked like. They can tell their own agency story because they lived it. And so when they
Mhm.
get to us, it's, hey, here is this great other world that does exist in your space, but there's fear, there's uncertainty, there's the what ifs, and all of them are super legitimate because this will be the biggest professional decision they're going to make in their lives. And so it is so important, especially from a culture standpoint, that they make the right decision. And not to
Mhm.
sound dramatic or hyperbolic, but a year from now, if they made that decision and they're miserable, they just made the worst professional decision of their life. But on the contrary, and selfishly, I think by working with equity expansion and really being present each one of those innings, if they find the right partner culturally that really aligns from a vision standpoint and operationally, their life gets significantly easier and financially, they got a lot of money up front. They're really excited about the equity piece, the compensation structures, and the earnouts. If all of that
Mhm.
is true in a year from now, they probably just made the greatest professional decision of their life. And so the
Yeah.
real pushback for us is these are people who are, by and large, risk averse human beings. Getting into insurance is a risk averse industry. And so you're asking people to put their trust into us and the baby that they built and they grew and they matured over time. We're asking them to then lock arms with another agency. And there's a lot of risk and fear and uncertainty to that just from a human standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a huge shift from definitely being having control over all the levers to right to turning it over. So that's really where you guys come in is making sure that partner aligns, as you mentioned, making sure everything is on the table, everything's clear. And obviously, these are smart people. These are business owners themselves. They know how to make good decisions given the right support, the right information, the right partner. So
The
that's
number one question we get is about autonomy. Because if
mhm,
when you're a business owner, especially for years and years, we joke that you're pretty much unemployable at that time. How do you go from running the show, controlling your entire day, to then being a W 2 employee or, quote, having a boss? And I think the biggest misconception is in a partnership, they're looking to partner with entrepreneurs. They're not looking to partner with people who now want to go be employees. They want to
mhm,
lock arms with everybody who has an entrepreneurial mindset, get those people together because if you're better together, if you put all those brains together, then it's probably a great idea. And so they're actually, the misconception is the autonomy is still there. You're still running the show in the day to day. You're just plugging into a larger organization for the opportunity for equity, for the relief on the operational side. And then you now have people in other industries who have partnered with these people who have
mhm.
expertise. So if you're going to go after another market, but you might not know much about that market, well, you got other agency principals who are experts in that market that you can tap into, right?
Mhm.
Still get the commission for that. So it's really growing and expanding your own agency because of the access you have partnering with a larger agency.
Yeah. And does the role of the business owner, does that look different for every business when they do a merger or
It really
acquisition?
doesn't. It's really, hey, what do you enjoy doing? What gives you that fire within your own insurance company? And let's keep you in that seat for longer.
Mhm.
Because me, I love client facing activities, but I do have to sit in meetings about data. And like my energy level goes from here to here, like a F-350, like it's gas guzzler when I got to go talk about data. But I have to do it. It's part of my role and I have to sit in those meetings. But I derive energy being client facing. So, like the same hypothetical that I continue to pose is a hypothetical for myself too. What if there was a world where I didn't have to sit in data meetings and I could only be client facing? And so it's really understanding what does the agency principal enjoy doing and how can we keep him in that seat longer? Because
Mhm.
that's what's going to drive revenue, which is the win-win for both parties.
Awesome. Yeah. It sounds like it provides so much more support, such a bigger team, so much more resources, obviously, to partner with one of these very highly vetted, as you had mentioned, partner agencies. And it's worth exploring. What so you mentioned like there's a couple different things you're looking for. What might be the top 3 reasons an owner decides to sell?
I would say reason number one, they're interested in taking their agency to the next level
Mhm,
economically. When an agency owner really understands the equity opportunity and they're excited about that, that's usually people who are going to they're going to partner because they understand the compounding effect of that equity. $1 becoming $3, becoming $9, becoming $27. They have a clear vision of what that looks like. and they understand with that specific agency, the history of that agency, where they are and where they're probably going. So that would be one, is they understand the economical benefits. Two, they want access to carriers because at certain sizes, they can get appointed with A, B, and C carrier, but they can't get D. But if they could get D, then that would really open up some markets for some other things. And so
Mhm.
carrier access is big. And all agency principals, they all need certain amount of carriers in order for their business to continue thriving. And so
Yeah.
when you in a partnership, you're partnering with a $100 million agency that has over 450 carriers nationwide. And so you're going to be able to get appointed to different carriers, which is going to lead you to be able to be in different markets, which again is the growth of that agency.
Yeah. That's a
And
huge opportunity.
so one is they understand the economical opportunity. Two,
Mhm.
they understand carriers and
The
markets
growth.
and how that's going to grow their agency. And then three, they're really self-aware of, hey, I hate IT. I hate technology. I hate having to do payroll. I hate having to reconcile accounts. I hate that my staff is wearing all of these hats. We're all run thin and we've
Mhm.
made it to 1.5 million, but we know we're all tapped out. And so they know the ceiling is there. And in
Mhm.
order to take 1.5 million and go to 3 million, decisions are going to have to be made. And what we tell agency principals, there's two decisions. One is you infuse your own capital. It means you have to build out more infrastructure, whether that's people, systems, processes, technology, something has to change in order for you to open up infrastructure wise so that you can build your agency. That's option one. Use your
Mhm.
own capital. But option two is go partner up with somebody who's invested multi millions of dollars into infrastructure so that you
Mhm.
don't have to and go plug into their system and use their infrastructure, systems, processes, and technology. And those are really your two options. So it's an agency principal who's self aware enough to know what got me here is not going to get me there. And how can I bridge that gap?
No, that's a tough choice. That really comes down to big life choice, as you mentioned. And I really honestly couldn't see a better person to help them guide them through that. Probably a little bit of a psychological journey as well.
Yeah, and what we
Into
tell our
building.
agency principals, going back to my nine inning baseball game analogy, I think it's a great start and finish
Mhm.
because we're the first inning and we're the second inning, right? And when they get off the call with us, they're a bit excited, they're a bit
Mhm.
scared. There's a lot of emotions going on. And so, what naturally happens as a human being, they go right to the ninth inning. And the ninth
Mhm.
inning is decision making time where it's, oh my gosh, I'm going to make this decision. Fear, uncertainty, what if, a lot of hypotheticals that don't have any answer to them. And so, what
Right.
our big challenge to them is, hey, if the first inning is interesting, then go to the second inning, but
Mhm.
just be present in the second inning because the second inning, you're so far from making any decision that if this is
Mhm.
intriguing to you enough to go to the second inning, then go and be present in the second inning and learn everything you can know about the second inning. And if that's worth it to you, then go to the third. And if that's worth it, the fourth, the fifth, and then all the way up to the ninth, right? And what I can promise them is if they take each inning just for the sake of that inning and they're present and they learn about it, then the answer, regardless if they want to partner or they want to continue growing organically, as long as you're present in every single inning, you will know the answer in the ninth inning. And so it's really a psychological part is don't go to the ninth inning when we're in the first inning. You're just going to freak
Right.
yourself out because this is that grandiose of a decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to shift a little bit back to you as a business owner now, also because again, we have listeners in all who are business owners themselves, and every business, as we've been talking about, I think can relate to a lot of the stuff that you're saying. I'm curious for equity expansion, where do you guys want to be in 12 months? Do you guys have a growth plan yourself?
Yeah, we do. For us, it's obviously growth is important. Simplistically put, like we have to broker deals in the insurance space for our company to continue existing. And so
Mhm.
for us, like we're building infrastructure out from people, hiring a director's team, hiring a group of we call acquisition managers to more of the front line of the sales process. But yeah, our goal is from a people perspective, we want to get bigger so that we can make more outbound dials, so that we can have more marketing out there.
Mhm.
Because our biggest challenge is there's 38,000 insurance agencies. There's roughly 800 partnerships that happen every single year. So it's about messaging. It's about agency principals understanding exactly the opportunity And
Mhm.
for it's congratulations. You built a great agency. You have earned the right to have these types of conversations as a result of what you've built. That's
Mhm.
amazing. So go have fun because at the end of this, you're either going to learn a heck of a lot about the opportunity in a partnership or you're going to
Mhm.
continue growing organically. But either way is wonderful for you. And so it's the education of these agency principles for equity expansion is that's why we need to build more marketing and more infrastructure so that we have more manpower to speak with more agency principals because the more agency principals we speak with that we can articulate this opportunity, the more successful we're going to be as a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And so many agencies are in different stages, as we mentioned, and they might not be at that, if they're not at that 500,000 or that million mark where there's that option available to them yet, they're also asking these questions, right?
Yeah.
And get to that place before they're ready to speak to you. So I think
Yeah.
that having these sorts of conversations is super, super helpful for you, again, as a business owner. Like if you had a magic wand to just fix one thing in your business that might be slowing it down, what would that be for you? I'm curious.
It's a great question. If we had a magic wand, what was challenging for us is there's not like a magical list, right, of 38,000 insurance agencies and their book of business and the location they are and their revenue size and their agency principal ages. There's no magic list, right? And so you can imagine the daunting task that we had, especially starting day one, of really this caveman ground floor of building up a list so
Yeah.
that we have human beings that we can call and human beings that we can reach out to and human beings that we can connect with on LinkedIn. But like day one for us was a Google search, right? Until we could get more educated and understand the technologies out there that we can use. But building our list was manpower. Those were people that we hired that had to build out. And one thing we struggle with is yes, you can build a list out, and it took us probably 3 or 4 years to finally finish a list. But now it's about
Mhm.
accurate information. So when we're making calls, like we want to know prior to making that call, like how long has the agency principal been in that seat? How long has the agency been there? What does historical year over year growth look like? What does their standing in the community look like? And the more information we can have up front, the more armed we are when
Mhm.
we meet with that agency principal that we have done our research. So we're not wasting their time and just a cold call, we know absolutely nothing. And so, really, it's the building of information on our end from the ground up caveman style was our
Yeah.
initial challenge and continues to an extent to be a challenge today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of other agencies probably relate to that. Or do you think this is an industry wide issue or is it unique to your business?
I think it's industry wide because, like, in the insurance world, they're trying to find clients to sell their insurance to. In
Mhm.
our world, we're trying to find agency principals to partner up with our group of buyers that we have. And so we're playing a very similar game.
Yeah.
But with the world and technology and AI today, the fact that we still have to do this from a caveman perspective, insurance in general is a very archaic industry. And so it's
Right.
like really pushing the industry forward, leveraging technology, leveraging AI, so that we don't have to do this caveman human being Google type searches or software that we've invested in to find this information.
Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. And that is it does sound like there's a lot of innovative solutions out there, and I'm sure your company is taking part in some of those as well that
Yeah.
have helped you get to the next level and they continue to grow and expand those, especially with AI coming into the picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Has that changed the landscape for your company?
For us, it has positively because we have people on our team who are have a very big interest in AI and what is going to happen. I'm more of
Mhm.
like the www.aol.com. And so it's good though, because like we have a lot of diversity and thought on our team. We have members of our team who are thinking 3 to 5 years in advance, and we have me who's thinking about doing a podcast with you at noon today. And I think the contrast, the diversity that we've created within this company is one reason we are successful. Where I have a bit of a fear, and it sounds incredibly salesy, so I'm really apprehensive about saying it because I don't see our company as a sales company. I see as our company as We articulate an opportunity, but we're not here to persuade anybody of anything because everybody is running their own journey and these are businesses that they build. And I'm not here to sell you or convince you. I have no interest in that. And
Mhm.
clearly, I don't even have a background in sales. My fear for them is this: economically, this is really an opportunity to win the game of life, meaning your family's not going to have any economical problems, and probably your kid's family, and in some instances, your kid's kid's family. My fear for AI is this: at some point in time, like AI is here. It's not that it's coming, it's here. At some point in time, insurance is going to be automated. To what extent, I don't know. But there will be a time where these insurance agencies, perhaps, their agency's not worth much anymore because AI has taken over and they can do what a human can do. And therefore, there's not really all that, it's not really worth all that much for an agency. And so at the end of the day, a partnership is a risk mitigating event. You have an opportunity to take roughly 80% of the chips off the table of what you've built. You get to lock up multi millions of dollars. Like you won the game. And so, from a risk mitigating event, ironically, they're in the business of talking to people about mitigating their risk, giving them insurance, but they're not mitigating their own risk. And so, they're one doctor appointment away of bad news for all of this going south. And that's scary. Or they're one getting hit by a bus tomorrow, not to sound incredibly morbid, of all of this going south. And so, from a moral standpoint to their families, they really have a moral obligation to take 80% of their chips off the table because this is the golden age economically for what they can get paid for an insurance agency they spent blood, sweat, and tears building. And so mitigate your own risk, get the chips off the table, secure that for you and your family and your staff. And then the
Yeah.
20% is the opportunity that's going to create real wealth for you. And so my
Yeah.
fear is that in 5 years, AI takes over and insurance agencies aren't worth anything. And you miss the bus. The bus left, the train left, and you miss this incredible opportunity.
Yeah. No, I mean, it is, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of
Right.
years. That is definitely, I'm sure, a fear that's on a lot of owners' minds, a lot of business owners. It's also helping businesses to grow as well. So it's like there's that inflection point of when do you make that decision. So it sounds like a call with you will help them to discover when would be a good
Right.
time for them to start thinking about these things. And
We
I mean,
just want to be the guide that delivers super clear, truthful information. Because
yeah.
I like the ninth inning, because I think the ninth inning is when equity expansion goes away.
Mhm.
They know everything, that they've been present in each inning. I think the ninth inning is very intimate, and I think it's between them and their family of what they want to do. Our
Mhm.
job is just present the information and guide them each step of the way and be there for them.
Yeah.
But the ninth inning is really about them and their family because this is a big decision.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Terry. That is really helpful, I'm sure, for all of our listeners and for me as well. I really love hearing about your perspective as a CEO of this unique company that you guys run at Equity Expansion that really helps companies to go to that next level.